Well, welcome everyone. What the purpose of this presentation is to record this, to get it out to everyone, and to let everyone know kind of what we've done some restructuring within Science to the Station, and are looking at how can we best kind of align an organizational structure and an operational structure for what we're doing here. One of the things when we started working on this is just, we were kind of brainstorming ideas and pulling things together. And as it's worked out, I think we grew a little bit faster than I thought. So we're up to about 1,100 members, which is amazing. Super exciting, but also it's made us realize that we need to kind of streamline our process moving forward and come up with, some different work groups and some different strategic directions. So it was an awesome opportunity to do some reimagining, and actually Chief Denny Compton was gracious enough to take an entire day to kind of brainstorm what needed to be done, what we could do in terms of visioning the future and coming up with our principles and operating guidelines and those types of things. So it was amazing. I fortunately was naive enough to ask him to sit down with us before I realized he'd actually written a book about the process. I could have just done it. We could have done it ourselves with the book, but it was much more effective to have Chief Compton in the room with us. So it was exciting, and we really have a debt of gratitude to him as an organization for helping us set this up. I do want to take 1 minute to recognize the board members that we have here on tap who are able to join us today. Some of them are off doing other very important things and couldn't make it, but I'll just do if we can get a quick intro, and I'll just go in order of the board members that are on my screen. Kepra.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for taking the time today. Super exciting to see you. And I think most of you know me. I don't think I know Alex. So Alex, it's nice to meet you. I do occupational medicine and research, health and wellness, anything related to that in the fire service or in public safety with law enforcement as well. So thanks for having me, and thanks for joining.
Awesome. Dave Burnswig, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Dave Burnswig. I'm a battalion chief in Columbus, Ohio. I'm also the director of health and safety for the Ohio Association of Professional Firefighters, and sit on several NFPA technical committees related to occupational safety and health and protective clothing and equipment.
Awesome. Frank Lido, would you like to go next?
Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. Frank Lido, retired FDNY, ran the counseling service unit there. I work closely with the IFF and the NFFF and do anything that Sarah asked me to do.
Which is how we got roped into this, which is fantastic. Let's see, who else do we have? Chief Tom Jenkins.
Hey, Tom Jenkins here. Besides being Sarah's life coach, I'm also a former IAFC president, sit on the IFSTA executive board and the NFFF advisory board, and excited to be a part of such a wonderful organization.
Life coach, God help us all. Rick Markley.
Hey, everyone. I also do whatever Sarah says because that's the smartest way to get through life. I'm a past editor of a couple of the major firefighting publications, and am focusing most of my time right now on communicating the science of health and wellness to fire service.
Fantastic. He also has a fantastic platform in the volunteer community and works with the National Firefighter Registry. So awesome. The folks that weren't able to join us today, Dr. Nate Smith from up at Skidmore is on the panel, as well as John Oates, who's the CEO of IPSDI, Rick Best, who runs the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation's Everyone Goes Home initiative, and Brian Frieders, who is current president of the Firefighter Cancer Support Network. So that makes up the board members. And we're excited. We really tried to kind of curate a list of folks who have a pretty broad range in terms of providing feedback in the fire service on different topical areas and a reach. So our goal is to be science focused, is to look at what is the data say. So always going back to what is the data say. Now we realize that there's different ways to ask questions. You get different answers depending on the questions you asked. We also realize that that there's different ways to interpret data, and we're completely open and want to be a valuable forum for that discussion to take place in the fire service. But really where a lot of this came from was during a project that we have focused on COVID. We realized, the feedback we kept getting similar to the country as a whole, but where do you get the information, the reliable sources? Where's your reliable sources for data, and how do you get fast information for the things that, for the questions that come up, and evidence-based answers? And so we realized that that's been missing in the fire service. We've got a lot of fantastic organizations doing fantastic things, but we've failed as the scientific community with getting that information out very well. You all's done a great job with the efforts that they have had on their Science to the Street, and actually, Steve gave me a hard time that we just stopped at the station, and I said, we're because the station is where everyone is. That was the best answer to come up with, although I just made it on the fly. But really, the goal of the organization is to take the science and all the great findings that we have on research and move those into practice. And we on the science side are fantastic at writing papers and running stats and getting information out that way. But what we're not fantastic at is translating that to the street and or to the station and to the firefighter on the guy or gal on engine 2. So that's what we're trying to do here, and really to do that through a network of people. Again, great organizations that write white papers and develop programs, and we want to amplify those, but also we want to focus on how do we create that network. When you look at like the tipping point of knowledge, I really truly believe we're at the tipping point in the fire service on health and wellness. I think we're getting that critical mass of the early adopters, and we're ready to light this thing on fire with all these, cancer prevention, behavioral health, all those things. But we know that if the group gets too big and disparate, if we try to say, okay, we have 1,200 people now, everyone just needs to be doing the same thing in our organization, it's going to fail. So we really need to get to those smaller work groups, about 150 people. We know is a critical mass of people who are passionate about a topic that we can start lighting that fire with other folks. So it did give us the opportunity. I like to think that every challenge is also an opportunity. So it gave us the opportunity to step back and do some thinking about what we can and should do. And so we're excited to share. The board did meet about this previously and walk through. Hopefully you can see the Science to the Station screen now on hold on. Do you see it? Perfect. There it is. So, I think I'm going to start through with some of the mission and vision pieces that we came up with, and then Kepra's going to jump in and talk a little bit about the structure, the operational, organizational structure, and then the operational structure, and how those are complementary to each other, but definitely two different pieces to the puzzle. So, in terms of a mission, here's our mission: collaboration and communication between the subject matter experts, frontline public safety personnel, to translate and disseminate evidence-informed health, wellness, and safety education and interventions. And so we want to, key to our mission is that it's that evidence-informed. So we want to go back to the science. We want to be very clear on what the science says and what the science doesn't say, because there are a lot of questions out there, and there's a lot that, my favorite tagline, favorite statement is that more research is always needed. Every question we answer, there's another 15 questions lined up behind it. Our vision. So that's who we are, what we want to become. This is my favorite sentence of the entire day with Chief Compton, because it gave us the opportunity to think big. And when we talked to the board, everyone really got excited about this. And it's really the idea of what we want to become is the key resource where science informs practice. But I think even more amazing than that is that we want practice to inform science for public safety. Now, we've been asked, public safety do we want to start just fire? Do we want to expand it wider? We realize that the world of, fire service is different than other groups, but there are some similarities, and we want to include EMS in that. But I think we're also starting to see things like a need for including dispatch in that. So that entire emergency response group. And we've had some folks, especially in our op health side, where they're both fire and police, and we don't want to limit our conversations. So while our key focus is fire and EMS currently, we see that as part of the vision, we probably have the opportunity to expand as people want to. a lot of this working document and working mission, working vision, and we'll revisit this periodically to make sure that we're on track with what we want to do. In terms of our values, what are the kind of the driving values of our organization? And it really is respect for the individuals within the organization and a unique perspective that each person contributes in their role. I regularly will be presenting, or I'll be talking to someone and I'll get, oh, well, I'm not a researcher, but, and I'm like, that's great, because I'm not a firefighter. Like, I can tell you on the research side of stuff, but I can't tell you on the fire side of stuff. So you tell me on the fire side of stuff what you have a research question about, or what you have a, OC health question about. And I think it's an awesome opportunity. I think that is what we purposely put this first, because I think we all have to have respect for the role that each and every person within this organization plays, whether it's a not-for-profit that's a supporter and a friend of the organization, or it's a firefighter, or a health and wellness chief, or we have a whole scholars group now. There are folks who have gone out and got further education and really want to think of the fire service in a scholarly way. Like, huge benefit, awesome opportunity. And, everyone brings a different piece, but this is really an opportunity where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So respect for each and every person in the piece that they bring into it. Integrity and interactions and practices. I mean, and I think that kind of is self-explanatory there, but I think it's important, that we have this also compassionate and quality communication. I mean, this should never be a setting where anyone feels put down or less than, or feels that oh, I got another science to the station email, what a waste of my time. Like, we want quality communication. We want to hit on key points and respect people's time, and then also focus on health, wellness, and safety to ensure operational readiness and effective execution. So how do we focus on a healthier, happier, safer fire service? And how do we do that in an evidence-informed way? Guiding principles. This is the thing that we are going to ask when we get, we kicked off with doing our initial, because this was funded by the COVID project and the FEMA AFG grant. We were able to, currently are able to offer our memberships for free, but at some point we're going to be a membership-driven organization where we'll ask for people to sign up, to recommit to sign up. When they do, we'll ask people to sign off on the guiding principles. So this is how our organization works operationally and what we expect of each of the members. So commitment to the mission and respect for the structure of the organization, dedication to linear expertise, the betterment of public safety. We are all here. We are all here to make a better tomorrow. And so, and when I talked to Chief Compton, some of these things I thought, man, can these go out without saying? And he brought up examples in the past where different folks have been jumping on board and of different organizations, and maybe weren't necessarily in for the mission and vision, but we're just there to listen to what was going on and to use it for their own purpose. So that's not what we're for. We're for the collaboratively lending expertise and really improving health, safety, wellness. We value empirical evidence as the foundation of practice and policy. Now, we understand that there are limitations to the evidence and the data that we do have, but we do, as an organization, the principle we want to strive for is, what does the data say? What, we've got a great idea, all right, what does the data say about that? We're not going to always have the data, but that's part of the, practice informing science, is looking at how do we answer the questions that we have. We also want people to not represent their personal views and opinions as the position of the organization. It's a challenge, but we want our organization to be one that if we put out a white paper, we put out here's our understanding of the science, that it be something that is, vetted through the organization, and that it's vetted through a scientific lens with experts. I personally am not an expert, obviously, on all things science, but I typically know someone who is. And that's kind of what the organization is about, is to go, okay, who's that key person? I don't know the answer to that question, but I bet Frankly does. I bet Denise Smith does. And I think that we always want to make sure that we're going to the highest level of expertise we have within the organization or outside the organization, to make sure that what we're putting out as an organization and with the seal of the organization is as evidence informed as it can be. And then just be respectful in communications and interactions. Don't be a jerk. We realize some of these, proposed a different term than jerk in this originally. I was overridden by the board. So just, I am open to feedback. And I did change what the statement that I had on there, but some of these things are hard topics to discuss. There's a challenge sometimes, and there's going to be debate, and we want scholarly debate. I think that's fantastic, but I think we just always have to remember, like, we're all in this for the right reasons, a proposed organization, and we just have to, show respect for each other in terms of time and effort and energy and expertise. Kepra is going to come off mute and talk about what our organizational chart looks like.
Sarah, thanks. And that was very good. So our organizational chart is just where people will fall within the organization, obviously. So Sarah is the president. I am the vice president. Then we have our amazing board of directors and the administrative team. So the administrative team are people like Melanie, people from Sarah's organization that are going to help support our efforts, take notes, be there to provide any of the resources that we need. Then we're going to break it down by group. So first and foremost, we have the Scholars Forum. And then we have the Occupational Providers Forum. And then we have the Workman's Comp and Legal Forum. And then we have the Behavioral Health Forum. And then we have the Health, Wellness, and Safety Forum. And that one's going to be broken down into a cancer work group, a women's health work group, a cardiac work group, and a sleep work group. And you will see that in each of these forums, we actually have a chair, we have a vice chair, we have an executive liaison, and we have the membership. Now, all of these individuals have been identified yet. And if you are interested in being a part of any of the forums, we would really like feedback on that. We would love for the opportunity to have people that are very passionate about these types of things happening in the fire service to be part of that group. If you would be interested in chairing a group, please let us know. If you'd like to be a vice chair, or if you want to just be a member. The executive liaisons will be our team members that are there to help facilitate conversations, to make sure appropriate notes are taken, and that we can circle back to issues and do some loop closure and follow up and make sure that things are being executed in a timely manner. But we are super excited to have people from this community. One of the things that Sarah mentioned is this organization has grown exponentially. And I think we all know that there's interest out there, but we don't know how many people are interested or willing to help us grow this network and develop these programs to get information to the boots on the ground. And so if you're interested in taking part in this, please let us know. Melanie would be the contact, and you can send her an email, and she'd be more than happy to reach back out to you and get you some more information on the program. Sarah, can you go to the next slide? Thanks. So here you'll see those same things, just in a little bit of a different format. And the thing that's really important to realize is that it is a puzzle. There are many, many pieces to this puzzle. And as we continue to grow and as we identify projects or, research components that we want to explore, all of those pieces are going to matter. And this collaboration is so important. There's going to be organizational leaders that we need to bring in, and those are going to help us with different ideas and thought processes and even implementation programs. And specialists in the field, they might not have been somebody that we originally had in the group, but we realize, hey, if we're going to implement this, or if the thought process is to implement this in the field, we probably need to have some more specialists involved. And then practitioners, those are firefighters, those are attorneys, those are going to be doctors, those are going to be mental health specialists. So we're open to any practitioners, even if they just started working in the fire service arena and they just want to get some more information on how to become, a member of this team or a part of the puzzle. We welcome your questions. We welcome your input, and we are always open to add people into the program. So please let us know. Now we're going to break it down a little bit by group. So Sarah, can you go forward with the scholar panel? Scholar panels, these are people that are getting secondary educations. Obviously they wouldn't be working so hard if they weren't super vetted and are super excited and interested in the process. So again, empirical evidence and practice. So we really want people that are interested and excited about bringing science into the fire service and into the boots on the ground.
I swear I'm trying to advance the slides faster, but they're just very slow today.
Well, that's okay.
Ugh.
One thing that I want to mention also is that we, while we know some of the things that need to be done, we are open to new ideas and thoughts on research. And in fact, we're super excited about that because sometimes because we're not firefighters and we don't do the job every day, we don't always see what should be the next thing on the list to look into. And so we're hoping that as people come into the organization, that they will help us identify next areas that we need to be looking into. Identifying emergent issues from research, you're going to see on every single one of these slides, I hope, because that's really, what we want to focus a lot of our attention on. This is developing those providers and the network and trying to find people to help support what's happening in the fire service. This is going to be also on the occupational health panel. One thing that we find over and over is that providers are interested in helping, but we don't know that because we don't even have a way for them to reach out and let us know. We have providers that have great experience, and then we have members that need to get to those providers, but we don't have a really great process for that to happen. So this is another conduit for those types of connections to happen. We do want peer teams to have a way to discuss their best practices and what they've tried that hasn't worked, what's going really, really well, and what they think we ought to try next. Same thing for the occupational health panel. I was talking earlier about this cardiologist that I'm struggling with right now, and it's because they don't know what you do. So, we need to find occ health providers that understand the job and that are super excited about helping us educate other people. If you have a good occ health provider, they're going to be able to educate other people in the community, cardiologists and endocrinologists and oncologists about the job. We want to work really hard on developing an educational program so that we can get that information to providers that are interested in working in public safety, and so that they're vetted and we know that they're knowledgeable. Workers' compensation, this is a big one. Sarah and I do quite a bit of work. We have presumptive laws in the state of Arizona. We have a lot of firefighters that struggle in this area. They can't get workman's comp coverage. And so having some knowledgeable people in our network that we can reach out to and ask questions, having attorneys that fight for our firefighters that are willing to answer questions or take a call or help with a case. Again, part of the reason that Science to the Station and Science Alliance exists is because we had people calling us and saying, I don't even know who to call. I don't know who to reach out to. And we're hoping that these forums will allow for us to have a network of resources and be able to provide that information to the firefighters. The Health, Wellness, and Safety Forum, this is going to be our biggest group. And again, this will be broken down into topics. And it's ideally all of the big things, and we might add to it as new things come about. We will definitely be looking at expanding these groups, and this is where we really need feedback from the people in the groups and from the people on the boots on the ground. What are you guys struggling with? What do you need help with? Health, wellness, and safety is everywhere in every department. And we need those people at the table so that we can identify what we need to be working on and how we can start fixing health and wellness and safety in the fire service. This is Mel's email information is listed right there. So if you are interested in chairing a section, work group, or being part of the organization, please do not hesitate to reach out.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kepra. And I apologize for being so slow on uptake with the slides. I have many skills, but operating something like this apparently is not one of them. As we come up with the sections with each group, basically, what we want to task the chair, the co-chair, and the members with is really to help us create the content. So what's the content we should be pushing out? What is the, what Fun Fact Fridays? Can we take studies and pull information from that and really distill it down? It looks like we're going to have the opportunity to maybe take over some of the resources that are already in the fire service and, keep updating them with one pagers. Like if there's a study that comes out, the study that came out on PFAS and blood from Australia, where they found that you could reduce PFAS levels in your blood by donating plasma, whole blood or even better plasma on a regular basis. I think some of the stuff like that, like what does that mean? What conversation should that spark around the kitchen table, or what conversation should that spark at the chief's level in terms of what a department can do to decrease cancer risks? All of those things. I think we need those groups, the work groups on the topic specific, but also the different subsections to say, hey, what can we do in a monthly meetup? We are starting a message board. We're figuring out the login process for that, and how we're going to run that. But I think that some of that conversation can go there. But I think we also, the monthly sessions, we've actually started to build up quite a kind of an audience to that. We usually have a handful of folks that jump on, and we have fantastic conversations. I've yet to have one where I went, oh, that was such a waste of time. We have everything from grand rounds plan, where we look at like, what's the important topic? What topical area? What does of everything Denise Smith knows, what does she think a firefighter needs to know in 30 minutes? So we'll do grand rounds. We'll have some ask the authors. If there are questions, we want to be able to do kind of rapid response to stuff. Sometimes an article comes out that everyone's all talking about that, or should be talking about, that we have questions like, how'd you come to that? Like what question you ask determines the answer you're going to get, and the scope of the answer you're going to get. But sometimes I think it's best to have conversations with the actual authors. Pro Q&As. I put Frank on the spot and he agreed, he nodded and laughed when I said it, but I want to do a Frankly Speaking every couple months, where it's either Frank Lido talking about, and what an amazing name, right? Frankly, just speaking. Oh, I cracked myself up. But where Frank has seen everything in terms of disaster response, in terms of creating a behavioral health program. He is a fountain of knowledge on these topics. And I think to get to be able to have a session where you can just sit down and ask questions. We've done it a couple of times and it's been amazing. Research roundtables. Science informing practice, practice informing science. Sometimes researchers come up with an idea, and I've heard some fantastic ideas and I've heard some really dumb ideas. And as soon as you go, well, but how are you going to do this, or this with the fire service? It's like, oh, wait, I didn't think about that. So let's get it going in both directions. And so we can give feedback to researchers too. Spotlights on success. We just had a conversation this morning at ACOM last weekend. The Denver Fire reported on all the things that they've been doing. They are doing phenomenal stuff. There's so much stuff the fire service is doing right. And let's get that information out there too. So you can ask questions. We recently completed a project where we looked at the Wellness Fitness Initiative and what worked and what didn't. And one of the most consistent conversations that we heard was that people would say, well, just have people call me. And I'm like, we need them to know that you exist first. I mean, the fire service is really collaborative, but we need to know who to call and when and what kind of questions to ask. Things we no longer believe. There's all sorts of stuff that we thought we knew the answer to and that we didn't, that we realized that Joy McDermott actually came up with that one. She's up in Canada and just an amazing researcher. And when she started talking about, I thought this, and then I did a study and I realized that was wrong. So, let's look at where we were wrong. The other stuff, we have the monthly email that coming out and where we give you, your curated list of research, links to new programs, upcoming sessions, and then we are going to have the access to the discussion board. If you don't have Crackle or you aren't subscribed to the online version of Crackle, I think it's amazing. They have a corner that a section of each one where it's the Science Station, and it takes an article and translates it into a magazine article and keeps it really interesting. I think in and of themselves is an intervention for the fire service. I think every fire station should have 2 copies of this on the kitchen table. Erin, I see your comment about a keep it real section on how to actually apply and utilize. Absolutely. Like Frank Lee, who's at the FDNI doing all the cancer stuff, always tells me, don't tell me how to apply what you're doing to the fire service, because that's not your scope. You tell me the research and then I'll tell you how we're going to apply it. And then if we need to study it or whatever. And I 100% agree. And I also think, Zam, I think you're good. It's an excellent point about keeping it real, because what you can do and what Denver can do is not what Olathe, Kansas can do, which is not what, Oaks, North Dakota can do in their volunteer department, but everyone can do something. So where do we start? Even if you can't do the gold standard, where can you start? What can we do it and where can we do it? Now, I'm assuming that everyone on this call is already a member, but for those who are watching this recorded, we'll send it out after the end of this. We'll post this in next month's, of course, pithy and exciting membership email. If you are not a member or you're forwarding this to someone and you want to be a member, scan that. So Excited is the code to track that it came from this recorded session. But we want to build the network. We also want to know who wants to be involved in what. And that's another thing we'll put in next month's email is, who wants to sit in on what sessions, we want to facilitate some in-person meetings. We want to facilitate online meetings, all sorts of, so we can meet people where they're at and do what we can, when we can, and really to join together to make fire service a better place, a healthier and I was going to say wealthier and wealthier. We can do some financial help piece to it. There's also some real out there about that. I see Kepra raising her actual hand. So
I just wanted to point out that we're also having our first real conference in November, and it's going to be in Tucson, and it's going to be November 2 through 4, and it's going to be amazing. We're going to do Fred Talks, and Sarah's very cool. I don't know if you guys, most of you know this, but her brain is pretty amazing. And so she came up with the concept of Fred Talks, which are like firefighter TED Talks, and they're super exciting. And so we are going to have a little bit of a different format than most conferences are, but we'd love to have you come to beautiful weather in Tucson with excellent tacos and Mexican food. And so if you're interested in that, please make sure you reach out. That is our flyer. We're going to have amazing t-shirts. So even if everything else sucks, the t-shirts will be phenomenal because we have Jeannie, and Jeannie does amazing t-shirts. So we are looking for some sponsorships. We're figuring out exactly what levels we still need. And so keep your ears peeled and your eyes peeled for more information about that conference as well.
awesome. Thank you. I'm horrible at promoting that and always forget to bring it up. It's going to be amazing. Another one that we're planning on doing is supporting the IFSTA conference down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it's, I believe, the first, I meant to look that up. Dates of that are, they just open registration. The nice thing about it is it's free registration. They feed you breakfast and lunch. It is in July. It's July 8th. And I told Bob, who organized the research symposium section of it, that I'm always hesitant to actually tell people about it because it's this amazing like little gem of a conference. Lori's headlining it this year. Steve Kerber's getting an award, I believe, and so he'll be there talking about some of the UL stuff. Tom Jenkins is usually there, but it's good anyway. He didn't even hear me. I usually can get a eye roll out of him when I insult him, but he must be frozen. But it is an awesome little opportunity there. And it's like some great networking this year. Kane Nixon's going to be presenting on the Fire Scholars Group. And then we're going to do a working group session on how do you take either your dissertation or your EFO paper. And Alex was messaging about this too. There's so much good work going on in the fire service. Let's get it all published. Let's get it out there. Let's, share that with other folks. And so there's definitely an approach to writing something and getting it submitted for publication. So we got good stuff ahead. I'm optimistic about the future. So this is the time where we're just going to open it up. People have comments, questions, ideas. Let's dream big dreams and do big things and make us work. What do you guys think? Who wants to go first? Well, don't all jump at once. Any feedback on what you heard or ideas on what you want to expand to?
I'll just jump in and say thank you. So as a person who's not been deeply involved in this group, I talk to Sarah occasionally about it. This is a necessary thing. The ability to interact with practitioners is so essential in research. And though I have some connections with the fire service to make that happen, this kind of formal process or formal group makes it that much easier. And I think I messaged Aaron about this too, that conversations end up being so important in terms of generating new research and figuring out what actually works in practice. The more conversations, the better. So thank you for making this whole process work.
Awesome. And the other piece of this is I think it's going to be amazing to just amplify, to know that, I mean, everyone should know that Alex Henderson is out there and the things he's doing, because he's doing some amazing organizational level stuff that that I think could widely benefit the fire service. I mean, he asks and looks at things in a very different perspective than everyone else. He also has a fire service background. So it's, he gets both sides of it. And I really think that it's kind of a way that we can all join together and make things better. I mean, I think that that's what our goal is to all advance the fire service, leave it better than we found it, right? Anyone else have anything they want to add in?
Just a quick second point that I forgot. Something I think is really important is that I'm not an occupational wellness and behavioral person, but I think there are a lot of other scholarly areas where we can grab people from outside this particular area, bring them in, and even though their research might feel just a bit different, they have somebody to contribute there. So thinking about all the work that Aaron and folks are doing in terms of fitness, there's a lot, I think, about organizational culture and uptake and how people consider whether these particular strategies are right for them, how to convince people. So there's good work from other places that might at least tangentially work here and support the good research you're already doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that'll be the amazing piece where, especially as we bring in other scientists, instead of saying, oh, we don't need some foundational stuff because this and this has been done, but like take that and launch into the next. I think we have a unique environment in the fire service in terms of research and practice, and that it is so integrated, but also because there's so many opportunities to collaborate. And people, I mean, in general, people who come into the fire service that are not interested in being collaborative don't stay long. They're in for a project and then they're out. But there's so many people where it's like, let's brainstorm. Let's, instead of, reinventing the wheel, like, let's look at like wheel 7.0 and how we can do that. And so I think it's, let's bring in as many people as we can who can lend, everyone has their like little area of expertise. And so let's do that and amplify that and let everyone know. There's some great Lexington. I asked them to do a presentation because they actually are working with a couple of folks at their local university where they have done awesome programs. And it was all through, fire department reaching out. And it's an amazing model for, not everyone in the country has a Kepra Jack in their backyard, but you can reach out to your local university and ask, hey, do you have someone who does this? Could we build this program? Could you talk to so-and-so at this department, at this university, and figure out what I mean, it's all happening. So we just gotta, there's so much we're doing right. Let's keep that up and share it.
And we also need to hear from people that have tried stuff and it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
So that we can figure out how, why didn't it work and what can we try to do differently next time to see if we can get a better outcome or a better work environment. But those collaborations are huge. And the community collaborations, I think, are happening a lot more than we even realize. But when we're looking at these smaller departments that don't have resources, those community collaborations are sometimes the only way we can get things done. And so having the ability to reach out to them and to touch base with them and knowing who those champions are. And, people at a university level often know other people at other universities. And if we can get a hold of one, they could maybe reach out. And just like Alex said, there's people everywhere that are willing. We might not know them, but somebody else might. And so those conversations have to happen to build those collaborations.
So who else? Anyone? Any board members want to jump on and say how this has just been life changing. All right. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up. We'll put this, like I said, online so other people can watch it. And just thanks to everyone. Thanks to the board and all the supporters and the people who are willing to like join this dream and go. It's been kind of a big lift, and it's been definitely building the plane like while it flies. But I think being 1,100 members strong, I think I said 1,200 before, but I think we're 11. Being 1,100 members strong after about 18 months, I think says something about what needs to happen. Like I mentioned, we were at the ACOM conference a couple days ago, and it was awesome. All these occupational health folks that I didn't know existed that were coming up and going like, hey, so I'm doing this, and how, I'd love to talk to someone about, and I'm like, we have the organization for you. So I think the more we can just facilitate conversation and work together, the faster we're going to get where we need to go. So thank you, everyone. We'll be posting this, and yeah, have a great day. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.